Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Wormhole. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game called Hammerwatch. This is an indie game that just recently got through greenlight and officially released today. This is kind of a game that I found was really intriguing. I had never heard of it until I saw it pop up today in the releases. It looks like a crazy RPG kind of bullet hell kind of thing, but with a fantasy kind of setting. It does have obviously multiplayer as well. There's 4 classes. Haven't done anything with this yet, but let's take a look. So I'm going to be playing this with a gamepad. It does support keyboard as well, of course, but I have a feeling this type of game works better with this. I've also turned off an option in the menu that changes whether or not you can aim in all 8 directions only. Normally by default it does lock to 8 directions, so I switched that to be free shooting. I figure why not. So let's check this out. So I'm going to be playing as a ranger. Small bridge broke behind you. There is probably no way out. Okay, so it's not a twin stick. You just kind of walk in the direction and attack. Oop. Okay. So X on my 360 gamepad drops bombs. Bats are not good. This is all kinds of little money. The aiming's pretty tight so far. I haven't really, it seems to go pretty much where you want it to go. I'm not crazy about the fact that I kind of have to aim. Ooh, didn't even see them. I'm not crazy about the fact that I have to kind of walk in the direction I want to shoot to actually fire. That's kind of annoying, but yeah, so as you can see, tends to be a lot of enemies coming at you at once, it looks like. Based on the trailer, that seems to be pretty much how the whole game works. There's a lot of emphasis on co-op from, at least as it appears in the trailer. They have a lot of little details where there's little secret passages or puzzles you have to solve while you're going through. The one thing I noticed while messing around with this in the option settings is this is actually recording at 1080p because I could not set it to 720. It did a weird thing where the screen did not go full screen. It kind of did this weird half screen, and I couldn't get it to work in a full screen even though the full screen option was checked. So it also didn't resize the mouse inputs when I went full screen. When I went to 720, so my mouse, I still had to kind of aim where it would be in a full screen setup, even though I was clearly nowhere near where the actual button should have been. So it's a fairly common mistake in games when they're in early stages, but that's not something you should normally expect to see in a released game, mind you. One. Alright, well. Ooh, okay, I was expecting that to open the bottom part. So far there hasn't... Oh, okay, there's just a lot of enemies. But, I mean, these are really easy enemies as you'd pretty much expect it to be at the very beginning of the game, of course. I definitely like the little aesthetic. It's old school looking without really feeling like it's trying super hard. It feels more like this is the type of setting look that you would go for if you want to go for an art style rather than just flat out kind of calling yourself a retro throwback because you couldn't make anything better. I can only assume those blue gems are for my mana. In fact, actually, let's try this out right now. Yeah, okay. So you can only pick those up when you actually are low. Now, there is apparently a leveling system based on the Steam page. I don't see an experience bar or anything so far, but maybe you do that by buying stuff. You seem to get a lot of money, and I also don't see a money counter anywhere. Do I have an inventory? Okay, there's gold count. My initial thoughts for this would actually have been that this would have been a roguelike with permadeath. That is not the case. Or at least I don't believe it's the case, from what I've seen. Is this a... oh, okay, that was a key door. And I'll just keep shooting these guys. So it looks like, based on what the classes were, checkpoints. Oh, okay, it's a little floppy disk. That's cute. It looks like all the classes are ranged with the exception of the paladin. I saw him in the trailer, and he's got like a dash attack, it looked like. So whereas I have bombs, I believe he has that to kind of dash through enemies. So it kind of lets him keep a greater mobility without really hampering his ability to fight in melee. Really looking forward to getting through to some tougher enemies here. The levels are quite big. I think this is a kind of one of those games where you're descending through a tower. Ooh, new enemies over there. Maggots. Everyone's favorite enemy ever. Bats are pretty much no threat to me at this point. Although I do want that key. I don't think I've even taken any damage yet. Although I guess when you can just stand here spraying arrows at things, you probably wouldn't take too much damage. I imagine Paladin probably takes a lot more, but he probably has more health or something to make up for it. That's a big coin. Okay, kill these bats, and then we'll go into that little door. While also looting everything because I am a blatant loot whore. So I assume that with the 4-player co-op, this is probably very clearly designed for their abilities to interact well with each other. One thing I'm not sure about is if it has online. We'll double check that before we end up the video here today. I did see the multi-section, but I don't know if that is local only because the options menu had keybinds for players 1 to 4, and by default 2 to 4 are set to gamepad. So I'm not sure if that means that they're only gamepad usable and they don't work online. So we do at least have some little ranged enemies, so that at least adds a little bit of extra complexity to it. I can't just stand down a hall shooting at everyone anymore. I do like that the enemies look different once they've noticed you and are moving into attack position. I guess that way you can kind of tell through walls and things if they're about to charge. That's a lot of maggots. Yeah, the maggots are a little bit more complicated. Have to pay a little bit of effort at least to not get hit by all their attacks. The shooting in 8 directions thing might actually be useful in this game. It seems like most of the enemies come at you from very linear directions. Whereas the free-range shooting can let you kind of get some good shots off, but more often than not I'm kind of finding it's just missing. So that's probably just my own inability to aim straight. Now, my natural instinct, ooh boy, this is kind of where it's getting a little bit more into more of a bullet hell type thing. If you look at the gameplay trailers, you'll see exactly what I mean by that. By the way, there's shots of the paladin and a wizard fighting like 40, 50 things all at once and just kind of having to dodge through all kinds of projectiles, enemies charging at them from every which way. First damage. Now, if I remember right, that woman that was holding up the sign was up here somewhere. Do I need a different key for that? Kill these guys. Actually, let's just drop a bomb. Since my mana seems to regenerate. I don't think my HP does, though. I haven't noticed it going back up. But there's food all over the place. Now, I'm not sure if, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe the levels are randomly generated. Ooh. I saw you glowing. What are you? Neat. A strange plank. Okay. Okay, so apparently left trigger kind of freezes me in place. I can only assume that's kind of guarding or something. All of the money. Am I capped at 780, 799? Nope. Whoops. Oh. Not like I'm using music changed. Does that mean we have a boss fight or something? I hope these areas are randomly generated because that would be a lot cooler for a game like this. That's also a lot of slugs. A lot of slugs in every direction. Star to the right. Woo. So this is on the medium difficulty. I'm kind of curious if the difficulties increase based on number of enemies. That would explain the really ridiculous shots in the thing, but they were also fighting different enemies, so it's very possible that it's just as you get higher level, or deeper, further, whatever you want to call it. The completionist in me hates leaving things behind, but I want to keep this moving ahead a little bit faster. I want to see something cool. Oh, bomb traps. Nobody likes you, maggots. Go away. Go away, gold ones that shoot twice. You're not cool. Aw, that one was all alone. I feel like an ass killing it now. I murdered its whole family. It had no one left. I mean, floor 2. Ooh, thing. I really want to see these things. I also really want to be able to sprint. Okay, so it looks like the floors interconnect, so I'll just go through here. We'll see where this goes. Floor 2. So it's got a little bit of kind of a Diablo feel to it. Spiky thing. What are you, spiky thing? You a normal? You're just a normal. Ooh, you shoot 3. That's cool. I wonder if that's like a random, like rare, or is that just a normal enemy that I just happened to find? It's probably just a normal enemy. Now, since I mentioned Diablo, I'm just kind of trying to think of all these comparisons to it now, but... Oh, that's a shame. I thought the bomb might have hurt them. I definitely like where this game is going. The complexity that the ranged enemies add is pretty good, especially when you add in the melee enemies. Obviously the ranged are a lot bigger threat, but you can't ignore the melee, otherwise they'll just all gang up on you. That is a really gross slug puzzle. Is that gonna be like an enemy generator? Ow. Okay. There you go. Yeah, okay, so that's generating enemies at a very fast pace, actually. It's quickly becoming a lot harder to not get hit, which is nice. Difficulty's ramping up nicely, not in such a way that it feels abusive or anything, like it's got a nice learning curve. Definitely feel that it's going at a nice pace. And we got an orb. I have no idea what that orb did, but I have it now. That map, I totally didn't even notice the map earlier when I pressed this button, which is back on the Xbox control. Nice heal. Let's see what she does. Okay, so here we go. So this is the leveling system. So you use the money you've been picking up to get things. And I've got 2 large coins, which gives me -1%. So the large coins give you an overall discount for things. And annoyingly, you interact with her if you try and shoot nearby. So it looks like the doors here do have the little symbols on them to kind of let you know what's over there. Cool. So that kind of just all loops back together. Ow. This was not a great idea. Star 2. I wonder if that's something particular. Well, I think you guys get the general idea of what this game is. I'm sure that later on it gets much, much more intense. What I'd like to do actually is I'm going to quit out and just want to see. Okay, so it does have multiplayer. If I browse, so there is a nice lobby system at least, so you can join random people and host you. Okay. Just going to check if this is still recording. Okay, sorry about that. So the game kind of confused me as to whether or not it was actually playing or not. And if you caught my fraps there, you'll see that it was going at a nice 120 frames per second, so pretty good. So it does have online multiplayer. The lobby system is there. And let's go nuts and see how hard this can get. Let's try the Paladin just to see. So you can, that's not what I wanted to do. So you can also, yes you can actually, you can customize the different levels, so there is a full game editor as well. And you do also have modifiers, so you can add extra difficulty to things, or you can add crutches to make the game easier. So you can definitely customize things a lot. The player content for this will probably be pretty interesting. And so as we thought, the Paladin does have a little bit more health. I don't like that he's teal. I immediately regret my decision to play as him. And there's the little dash like I was mentioning. So basically it looks like if you get in front of the Paladin, you pretty much just die. There's little dashes. He slices and dices. Julian's fries. Seems pretty useful, but I guess against the ranged enemies later on it will be a bit more of a problem. You'll need to use the dash to get more in range of him. He would definitely be one of those guys that is useful to have in a multiplayer game. It feels a little weird that I can just walk forwards doing this and pretty much be immune to all damage. Oh, no I'm not. Oh, no I'm not. Definitely not. That's what I get for thinking I was invincible. Alright, well, that's our look at the game here. So, I'll leave you with that. And until next time, this is the Wormhole.